Garry, how's it going?
Great, thanks. How are you?
Good. I know there's a lot of people here. Just a quick one first off. How's your shoulder, and do you have a date in mind for a return to action?
Yeah, it's actually gone really well. And this week, I had an IKD, a test out in Santry on Monday, that the numbers checked out. So it's kind of just going to intensify the contact, and once kind of jump through a few hoops on that regard, hopefully be good to go. But until I do that, say today, tomorrow, Friday, that'll give me a clearer picture for next week. But it's definitely trending in the right direction.
Is that a week or a month you're thinking of, or a couple of weeks or a month?
To be honest, like as in the IKD is kind of a main indicator of where things are at structurally. So like that's fine, and then it's just a matter of pushing the contact, and been running a good bit now, and doing light contact conditioning is just going to intensify that, and if it holds up. So I'd be hoping to be shorter than a month, but until I go through the process today, tomorrow, Friday, and the start of next week, then I'll have a clearer idea then.
Thanks. Just I saw a photo shoot from you from 4 years ago when the South African sides first joined the championship, and you actually haven't played that much against South African teams. I see in the list for Ireland you haven't played against them, and maybe you played one game against the Kings.
Yeah.
What do you think they will bring? When I was growing up, I always had the impression that they were harder people, that they were, whatever breed they were in, they just looked harder and stronger. Did you have that impression, or what do you think they will bring extra to the championship?
I think South Africa, well, from what I've seen and the small bit I've played against, but I've been involved in preparing against it as well, I think South African teams tend to pride themselves in their physicality. So, that's kind of coming your way regardless. Then they build out, say, from the set piece, and they're incredibly strong from international to the club game, then build out from the set piece. And then they've athletes out in the wider channels that I'd be exposed to a bit more that could leave you for dead pace wise. So certainly when they get it right, it's South African teams can be incredibly difficult to beat, and certainly the teams that are joining now are most definitely bringing a stronger level than what we played against in the past. So that's the challenge for all of us.
Hi Garry, Sinead here in Virgin Media News. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Not too bad. Obviously, first time speaking to you when we spoke to Johnny Sexton recently about the lines, and he was kind of saying it might be something you might never get over. How was it for you, and in terms of, I suppose, motivation, kind of coming into the new season?
It was disappointed. Like anyone, I wasn't naive to the fact that I didn't have the best year in the lead up to it. So, you always prepare for the worst, hope for the best kind of stuff. So, was disappointed. But like you said, it's a new year. It was after the year and a half previous, it was nice to get a break, and I think everyone enjoyed getting 4 weeks to reset the focus and even get a clearer picture schedule wise what we're facing. But off the back of, say, a year and a half of kind of uncertainty and things changing on a monthly basis. So it definitely feels like a new year and a fresh beginning for everyone, and including myself. So I'm incredibly motivated and excited to get back. And obviously it's never ideal picking up an injury with my shoulder at the tail end of last year. But timing wise, I've been pretty lucky that it hasn't sacrificed too many games, and that I'm almost good to go now. So excited and motivated for the challenges ahead.
So if you're looking for kind of an upside on not being part of it, is it that you feel kind of fresher coming into the new season? Do you have to almost look at the upside of that?
Sorry? I did.
As in, if was that an upside, I suppose, to not being in the squad, that you will have had that more time off, kind of being fresher now going into the new season?
I think certainly at Leinster, I'm not sure how it works. The other provinces, the Irish guys get their 4 weeks once the summer series finished, and then the Lions guys actually just back in last week or at the start of this week after their break, so everyone gets their chance to decompress, which I think is important for everyone. But yeah, certainly the guys that I've been training and playing with most are incredibly motivated and excited for the new season after that break. So it was a good start with what we had against Harlequins out here in the Aviva. But I reckon it'll be a different challenge again, and a step up again, which has us under pressure to keep preparing as best we can with the Blue Bulls next week.
Garry, you touched on it there earlier. One of the criticisms levelled at the Pro 14 in recent years was the number of games that were very competitive on the scoreboard anyway. How confident are you that this new format and these new teams will make for a more competitive domestic competition, and how is that going to benefit Ireland?
It's a good question. I probably don't look at the bigger picture as much, say myself, because from the outside, maybe games mightn't be perceived as competitive as they feel like when you're on the inside, and the level of preparation that goes into them. But from what I've read on the new structure, it's kind of that's one of the ideas behind the new competition. Not only just the new teams coming in, but also the I think it is slightly less fixtures, but puts more pressure on them, and the way they're scheduled outside of international windows and stuff like that, I think is all within making games as competitive as possible when they are being played. So it's kind of just adding to the pressure that's already there, the pressure we already feel. It's just intensifying it that bit more. So as I was saying, it's just a massive challenge, and it's exciting that it's there's a bit more clarity in the challenge we're all facing as well, which I think is cool to focus on.
Thanks, Garry. Cheers.
Thanks.
Garry,
can I just follow up on that? Or it's interesting. 6 out of the 18 games are going to be interprovincial matches, which increases the pressure maybe more in Ireland than anywhere else. And 2 of your first 5 are interpros. So there's no easy start in this season. It's straight in.
I know, yeah. Sure, we've the Bulls next week, and I don't know if anyone watched them in their final or against the Sharks. Was it 2 weeks ago? They're pretty much as good as they get, as good as they're going to get, if not better, after another 2 weeks prep. So, and then the interpros, as I'm sure you kind of realise when you're at the games, and I'm sure as media being at the games in a quiet stadium or in an empty stadium, you feel or appreciate the intensity of the collisions a bit more, and those interpro games are as close to international games really. So it's in terms of, obviously I was saying we have a clearer picture of what we're facing in terms of the schedule, but to look beyond, the first game or the first 1 or 2 games we have would only be at the detriment to us. So that's where the focus is now after a couple of weeks of pre-season.
And do you feel in those interpros that they really are all trial matches for Ireland, that this is what you're picked on? They're being picked apart with a fine tooth comb.
Yeah. Well, ultimately they are. But I think any time you play for your province, it's a trial, and the international coaches are watching. All the data is stored and studied and picked apart, like you were saying. But then at the same time, the mindset, I don't think, is necessarily you're going into it like a trial game. You're still sticking to your province, and there's a lot of pride in your own province, your own club, and you want to win. So by focusing on trying to win, put the best preparation, best performance from an individual and collective perspective for your province, then that's ultimately putting the best foot forward for the Irish stuff. So you kind of just forget about that to a certain extent and let that take care of itself and focus on the immediate, if that makes sense. But like what you were saying, they are effectively trial matches from the international coach's perspective, and then as well as the other games as well.
Thanks, Garry. Good luck for the rest of the season.
Thank you.
Garry, you mentioned crowds not been there for those big games last season, particularly the interprovincials. As a player, how much are you looking forward to meaningful crowds being back now in the next few weeks?
I think all of us, myself and everyone in Leinster, and I'm sure it's shared across the rest of the guys here, but just can't wait. Certainly for Leinster, it's a massive part of our game and feeding off the energy of the crowd. And we got a little taste for it last week for the Harlequins game that was in the Aviva here. Now, I wasn't playing, so when I was myself and 10 of the other lads were walking on the way in, and you could feel a buzz, and although it was only 10 or 12,000 people here, it felt like 50 outside, that sort of way, just over the last year and a half. And it was just a really good buzz. And I know we were all walking in here excited, and then speaking to the guys that were playing, said they absolutely loved it. So as far as I'm aware, that we're going to be allowed to have more people in, certainly from a Leinster perspective, in the Aviva for our first game. So that'll be, I think we'll all be pleading to our friends and family and extending it to, everyone in Leinster to try and get tickets, because we can't wait to see you all back, and appreciate the support and want people to be here, and we'll do our best to make people in Leinster proud.
And can I just ask you, in terms of support for the women's game, what do you have any strong opinion on what happened with the changing conditions for Connacht and Ulster over at Energia Park last weekend?
Yeah, I actually saw a video of it on Instagram, and it's obviously pretty ridiculous, and there was clearly a massive mix, but I can't imagine it be a mistake that'll ever or shouldn't ever be made again. So I don't really know the ins and outs of it, other than it was a massive mistake, and one that shouldn't have happened, but I've no doubt, as I said, it won't happen again.
Thanks, Garry. Good luck with the rest of the recovery.
Thank you.
Guys, just a little note on my end, just if we can try and keep it to one question per person, we do on the call. Appreciate it.
Hey, Garry, how's it going? I'll just jump in with one there, if you don't mind. Listen, you mentioned, with the Lions and stuff, that you didn't feel you had the greatest of seasons, but it must be kind of frustrating in a way, because I thought 2020, before and after the lockdown, you were having a great season, and it's not exactly that you were in bad form, but were you kind of gutted in a way that you couldn't get that run of games together in 2021 ahead of the Lions?
I suppose when I do say that, and have those honest conversations, say with myself, that it's kind of all inclusive, and I am aware that the sort of stop-start nature of the season and picking up a couple of injuries was probably the most frustrating part, given the fact that, say, all four of them were kind of broken bones. So it's not as if it was anything in, say, my preparation or recovery or attention to detail from that perspective. It was just the nature of the game, and I probably had 5 years of bad luck squeezed into one season. So that's what I'm saying, in terms of the break, it was nice to have that, and it feels like a fresh start again. And as a player, you kind of not, you don't really look too much in the bigger picture and form, and you don't really pay too much attention, or if any, to that narrative. It's just kind of focusing on a week and a weekly basis, and any game I could play. So for me, the challenge is to just have as many positive impacts on a game as possible, and that could be in the 80 minutes itself or on the lead up to preparation. And that's kind of what I'm focusing on now, if that makes sense. So there's a lot of stuff that's out of my control, so I try not to get too bogged down beyond maybe the first 48 hours or whatever after that in terms of injury. But forget about that and get on what I can control.
Cheers.
Sound.
Hi, Garry. Just on your first game specifically, I'm a reporter from Cape Town. So you're facing the Bulls. They are arguably the form team of South Africa the last two seasons of domestic rugby year. You happy you're facing them first, or would you have wanted a more easier South African team?
I don't think I'd ever describe any South African team as being an easier one. I haven't studied a bit of film and trying to study up on them and stuff, but the Bulls have been incredible, and maybe sometimes the narrative around the type of rugby South African teams might play, I think the Bulls kind of put that to bed a little bit when you look at their past 5 or 6 results, and they're close to 40 points a game in terms of that in their attacks. So they're probably a team that can do it all, and then you've someone like Marcel Coetzee, who's well drilled on Leinster, and with his time, and obviously he's such a figure at Ulster, but he's clearly a cult hero there at the Bulls now at the moment. So I'm sure he'll have the lads well drilled and ready for ready for the challenge in playing Leinster, which is a daunting task for us to equally do the same. A team we haven't played before and just studied on film, but have to try and prepare as best we can. Sorry, to answer your question, whether we preferred an easier team or not, as I said, I don't think I'd ever really say that, but it's certainly facing the as you said, most informed, strongest team at the moment, coming in hot. So we'll have to be at our best if we want to think about kind of coming out with a win. So that's the challenge for us now in our preparation.
Thank you.
Hi Garry, Katie here from Wales Online. I just wanted to ask, which player in Wales are you least looking forward to coming up against, and why?
Which player? I mean, I'm trying to think who I got run over by Moriarty, I think, before. Because he's such a dynamic back row, he finds himself in the wider channels a good bit. It was at Holmes as well on the wing. It was probably one of the most informed wings across all the Welsh teams, across the whole competition. So, I mean, they're two of. Who else do I think? There are two names that stick out for me at the moment.
Great, thank you, and good luck as well.
Thanks.
Hi Garry, can I just go back just to the competition as a whole for a second? And like we're looking at, you were saying there that, you know, like with the fixtures and stuff being moved and stuff, it's going to be beneficial and whatnot. But like with this whole new rebranding, with 4 stronger South African teams coming into it, the old rendition of Pro 14, you know, it got a bad name. Do you think this is going to bring a bit more prestige to the tournament and bring it to the kind of level that we want to bring it to?
Again, I think so. Like, as a player, you're focusing on the immediate challenge. So maybe some of the narrative that would have been outside of, the playing group or us preparing for games would say that. So, but from us, it's, as I said, it's always been a challenge and it's never been easy. And the strength and depth of the Leinster squad has paid dividends to us and been a massive contributor to the success of Leinster so far. And I think nothing changes from our perspective on that. But I mean, I can't disagree with you. With the teams that are coming in and the quality that's coming in, the way the schedule has been restructured, I think it can only do what you're saying, whether prestige or stuff, that wouldn't maybe be a word that I'd use, probably just tougher, more competitive, more challenging. That's kind of what myself and our playing group are facing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, super. Cheers. Thanks, Ray.
Hey guys, we just have maybe 2 minutes left on Garry's time for this session, so just the last question or two before Ulster come onto the call. Thanks.
Yeah, actually, if I'm okay to ask one more, Garry.
Yeah.
Just like in terms of like guys to kind of keep an eye out. I know like Leinster's got that reputation for just pumping lads out who are absolutely incredible and almost test ready as well. Like, is there a couple of guys that you've kind of seen in training this year who you're really excited to see as the season gets going?
Yeah, who would I say? I think it was Jamie Osborne has been very impressive for us in training, and he would have trained with us last year, and obviously kicked on to a pre-season. He's been incredible, and he's even watching over the 20s. He seems to be growing, or over the summer playing the 20s. He's growing and getting better. So he'd be someone that I've no doubt will contribute to Leinster as well. I'd say Chris Cosgrove, who's gone away with the sevens, another back who's been incredibly impressive. Then I'm trying to think who else, like Liam Turner, who came on when Chris went off injured against the Harlequins pretty early. Liam Turner came on at 13 and slotted in seamless. So Rob Russell as well as another guy who's come through, would have been training with us last year. So there's obviously we put a lot of pride in homegrown players and players that have come up through the system, whether it's schools or clubs. You mean to see guys like them kind of driving the standard and challenging a lot of us in training, and it's not just us giving them advice and improving them. It's two-way, that they're fresh faces, fresh opinions, and fresh point of view, and they teach the other guys, the older than them, a few lessons too. So it's a brilliant dynamic, and hopefully it's been something that's as I said before, paid dividends for us in the past, and hopefully that to continue. So it's the challenge for us to continue that.
And he had he had kind of a disappointment in 2017 on the Lions tour. We got injured, but how happy were you for Robbie Henshaw? Like, he had such a great Lions tour himself there during the summer.
Oh, he was incredible. I mean, I couldn't be happier for him and Bundy as well. Two lads have played a fair amount with them. To see them go out and play as well as they did was incredible. I think Robbie had an amazing year he's had an amazing couple of years. But especially last season, he kind of took off and off the back of maybe a few injuries prior to that, he reminded everyone of how good he really is. And when the level went up another notch in a Lions test, he rose again. So I don't think it didn't come as too much of a surprise to anyone that knows him, but it was amazing to see, and I was delighted for him, and also delighted for Bundy as well.
All right, cheers, Garry.
Thanks, Garry. Thanks very much for your time. I'll let you get on to the next item on your list. All right.
Nice one. All right. Thanks very much.